I do not care. It's just a guard.
Welcome to the Sports Podcast.
It's not the brightest. Really? I like that. Do that.
Welcome back to the Yinzers from Ohio podcast. We're talking sports, we're talking football, we're talking Steelers. I'm Carson McCandless, and this is my cousin,
Cole
McCandless. And the draft is now over. It was an exciting draft and a fun draft if you're a Steelers fan or an NFL fan.
Yep, just got all 32 picks correct in the first round. So I'm on a high. Barely slept the last few days.
Oh yeah, that did not go at all how I expected it to go.
Hey, I think I was looking. I think we got two right. We didn't do it on the right. Hey, Mel Kiper got 0. So, I mean, not bad. No one could have predicted all those trades, though. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that was lots of fun. So the first, we're going to do two things in this podcast. The first one is we're going to go through the very first round of the draft and give each pick a grade. And then the second thing we're going to do is talk about the Steelers draft and maybe grade those as well. And at the very least, we'll say what we think about each of their selections.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So let's start it off. The very first pick in the draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected Travon Walker, defensive end out of Georgia. What was your thoughts on that pick, Cole?
I gave it a C-. Travon Walker really just is kind of perplexing because a couple months ago, this dude was borderline not even in the first round. Nothing has changed since then other than the combine. And he put up like an all-time combine performance where he ran like a 4.5 and had crazy testing numbers, but I don't understand how that causes his stock to. I mean, he creeped up, and then he started to hear about him maybe in the top 10. Then he was all the way up at 2, and like 2 days before the draft, he became the favorite to go number 1. And I was like, "There's no chance." I mean, we both said we thought it would still be Hutchinson, but
yeah,
nope, they went Walker. So I mean, it seems kind of weird. I mean, it doesn't seem like the guy you'd want to go with the first overall pick in the draft. Some guy who probably is high potential to bust and not develop fully, especially in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I couldn't agree more. I gave him a C- as well. I guess you get the guy you wanted as a Jags fan. You get exactly who they wanted after they had the first pick in the draft. But I warmed up on Walker a little bit because he wasn't given too much opportunity in Georgia to really just straight up rush the passer. I think it was something like he only had 34 snaps where there wasn't any it wasn't a blitz package and there was no stunts or anything on the D line where he had like 34 snaps. I think that's the number. I was watching Brett Coleman's video on him. But so he didn't get much opportunity to show what he had, but he also just did not produce at all in college. This is a total gamble on traits and ability and physical tools. And I get it. I mean, he's a great physical specimen. But there's 2 other good physical specimens that did produce in college that you could have taken with this pick. And it's just a total gamble. You hope that he can learn a few things, and you got to hope that Jacksonville is going to be the one to teach him. So I'm not too sure about that pick.
Yeah. Number 2, I gave Hutchinson to the Lions an A.
Yep. I gave an A+.
It's just they're probably thrilled with that. They didn't have to make a tough decision between Walker and someone else. I think they were probably hoping to get Hutchinson all along. So I mean,
yeah, hometown guy too. He's Michigan born and raised, Hutchinson. So that's a really good story.
Yeah, what'd you get? Oh, you gave A+, okay.
Yeah.
3, Stingley, I gave a B+. Kind of a surprising pick there. I figured they would go with an offensive tackle, which I probably would have done. I just feel like it was a little bit safer. Or Gardner, I feel like was a little bit safer. But I mean, if Stingley works out, you've got a lockdown corner for the next 10 years. So
Mhm. I gave it a
I
B
don't,
too, surprisingly enough.
yeah, don't think it was the
I like
worst pick.
Stingley. I like Stingley. I think he is better than Sauce Gardner. When he was 18 years old in his first year playing college football, he was by far and large the best corner in college football. And then some injuries came his way, and he slowed down a little bit. But I still think he can be truly elite. I think he's better than Sauce Gardner. So yeah, I kind of like the pick there.
Well, I gave Sauce an A+ at 4. I feel like they got the better
Jeez.
corner, and that's who they wanted all along. So I think they got the best corner in the draft at 4, and then they got. I mean, we'll get to it, but I think they got the best receiver at 10, and then they got
Yeah, I
Jermaine
like the Jets
Johnson at
draft.
26, who they were thinking about taking. I've seen all the way up at 4.
Yeah,
So pretty
I've
impressive
also
draft.
seen them mocked Garrett Wilson at 4 as well. So
Yeah.
they got a lot of guys that were mocked to them, and they got them all. Uh, so that was pretty crazy. Yeah, I gave Sauce Gardner a B minus just because I think it was a little early for him,
Oh my
but
goodness.
I like the pick. Hey, C is like an average pick, so I still like it. I still like it at B minus.
That's terrible. Uh, okay, whatever. Uh, 5. Thibodeau, I gave a B. Uh, and here's why. I think I don't know. I was watching it live and I was like, this is gonna be a tackle, and then they should be able to get Thibodeau at 7 because the Panthers have no interest in edge rushers. So it didn't really make sense to me as to why they would take Thibodeau at 5. I don't know why you wouldn't take your choice of tackles to the, what if Carolina takes your guy and then you can go grab Thibodeau at 7. So if I think those are flipped, they would have probably both been A's. But and it all worked out in the end. But I gave this pick a B.
Hmm.
Um, and then
Yeah, at the time I disliked it a bit when they drafted him for the exact same reason. I'm thinking you need tackle, and now Panthers are going to steal somebody. But yeah, they got Neal at 7, which was definitely a guy I thought was the best tackle, so it worked out for them in the end. So I gave them a B minus for getting Thibodeau. Some people thought that he was still the best edge in the draft. He definitely has a higher ceiling than Hutchinson, but he starts a little bit lower. I think Hutchinson's the better player now. So yeah, I like the pick too. Solid.
what'd you give it?
B minus.
Okay. 6. I gave the Panthers an A for Aquanu. Uh, they got their choice of the tackles. That's probably, that would be who they had rated the highest.
Yeah,
Really thought they were gonna go Pickett or Willis here, but uh, they went with the tackle, which is probably the smarter pick.
I
Probably not the
agree.
smartest pick for saving Matt Rule's job, but for the overall long-term outlook on the franchise, I think this was a very good pick.
Yeah, if they were to pick like Willis here at 6, they can't take a quarterback in the next draft. I think that would
Yeah.
because you're basically saying we think Willis is going to be a really good guy for us, and you're putting a lot of trust in him when that 6th overall pick, and they're probably going to miss out on some stud quarterbacks in the next draft if they do that. So I think the tackle is definitely the right pick, but the question for me comes, why not Neal? I think Neal can do mostly everything Kwanu can do, and then stuff that he
Well, I
can't
think
do.
Aquanu has the slightly higher ceiling. That's what I've heard. He has a chance to be really, really good.
Yeah, I just like Neal more than Ekwonu. Although Ekwonu is definitely my second, so I gave it a C as an average pick here pick up
For
here at 6.
Aquanu?
Yep. Like I say, C is like the good like a okay pick. C is average.
Okay, whatever. I gave 7. I gave that an A+ because I
Same
I
A
thought
plus.
I thought there was a good. I Jacksonville would have taken him at 1. So if the Giants can get him at 7 with their second pick, yeah,
Yeah,
unanimous A
yeah. That was,
plus.
that was great value. Great value. Getting probably a top 2 or 3 talent in the draft at 7 is really good.
8. I gave the Falcons a D+. I believe this was my lowest grade for the entire round. Uh, yeah, we're both pretty low on Drake London because he's slow as crap.
Yeah, I
Um,
gave it an F. It's actually my second lowest. I think there's someone who did worse.
okay, you know you can't get lower than an F.
Well, I F and then F minus.
That's not a thing.
Oh, that's what I'm giving it.
Yeah, he doesn't really fit there, and I don't think he's the best receiver. I think I probably thought he was the fourth or fifth best receiver.
Yeah, yeah.
So kind of a reach on that.
And his skill set is similar to the tight end they have there.
Pitts is
The
way
big
faster too.
Pitts. But yeah, Pitts. So Pitts would make a better wide receiver than London, but they have a similar skill set, and I think it's kind of redundant. I don't know. Maybe they're going for if they have one dude, if they have one guy who's good at shutting down big-bodied guys. Well, what's the chance they're going to have two guys to be able to do that? But I just don't think that London's good, and I think you already have Pitts to fill that role. Maybe you can figure out some way to utilize them both and the same skill set twice, but I think it's just better to have different guys that fill different roles. So I think this was a terrible pick.
9, I gave the Seahawks an A plus on Cross. Uh, just a smart pick for them. They didn't get a corner, which might have been what they were hoping for, but they probably were pretty surprised that Cross fell to them at 9, and I think those top three tackles are already pretty close. So
Yeah, I gave it a B plus. I really like it. Finally address the line after your star quarterback leaves in Wilson, but at least you're addressing it now.
10, I gave the Jets another A plus. I thought Wilson was the best receiver, and they got him all the way down at 10. So
Yep.
I mean,
I gave them an A. I've seen mocks, like I said, where they take Wilson at 4. So getting probably going to be the best wide receiver coming out of this class at 10 is really good.
no, George Pickens. 11, uh, I gave the Olave pick a B minus. Um, what they trade up from here?
They traded with the Commanders. They
16?
sent
Yeah,
a
16.
16th, a third, and a fourth.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you're gonna trade up, it would probably be for Williams. I mean, I would have done it for Williams, in my opinion. The higher
Yeah,
ceiling guy. Uh, Olave, not a bad player. Just I don't know if it was worth moving up
yeah.
that far to get him.
I gave them a C. I think it's okay. If you're gonna move up and get your guy, I just think, like Cole said, Williams was better, and it wasn't too pricey. It was a third and a fourth to move up.
I mean, I don't know
into
who they
7
thought
spots, but
would have taken
I,
him. I'm looking now. Maybe
maybe the Eagles,
Houston at 15, but
Houston.
yeah, maybe the Eagles. That's true.
Yeah, it was 16. So they moved up 5 spots, giving up a third and a fourth. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's an okay trade to move up. But I think if you're going to do that, get Williams or just sit and maybe. I mean, I think Olave had a decent chance to fall to him there. So maybe they didn't want someone jumping ahead of him, but I don't know.
At 12, I gave the Lions an A minus for James Williams. Typically, you wouldn't move up 20 spots for a receiver, but once I saw that they basically were able to do it for free, I gave it an A minus. Probably one of the worst
that trade was
draft
so
day
bad.
trades in terms of pick swaps I've ever seen. If you plug it into the calculator, they lost by like 250 points. I mean, it was atrocious. I mean, a top 12 pick should have immense value, and they basically only had to give up, I believe, like a second. They like swapped. They swapped first.
Yeah, the 32nd for first round picks. So the last pick in the first
They
round.
swapped first. They swapped seconds, and they picked up an extra second, I think, which
Yeah.
highly questionable. But
And to be fair, the 1 second was what was it, like the 34th pick, I think. But even so, I mean, if when I heard that the Vikings were trading down, I'm like, oh, this is a great idea. Most of the two great corners went super early. It's a good chance to trade down, get some value later in the draft. I'm thinking, all right, the Lions gave him probably the other first round pick they had, the last pick in the first round, and then probably like the first round pick next year, and maybe even a late round pick like a fifth or a sixth. But no, it was the first rounder, and then 2 seconds. That's horrible. And they gave back a second, too, which is even worse.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been okay if they didn't give up a second, but geez, oh man, that's bad.
What was your grade on this?
I gave him an A. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
insane trade up value, and you get someone who could potentially be the best wide receiver in this draft too, because
Yeah,
he has a
Lions
lot
are
of skills.
slowly
Just that
starting
injury
to
you gotta worry about.
put some weapons around Goff and whoever their future quarterback's going to be. So
Yeah,
I
the
think
Lions could be a very scary team in a
they're
couple
rebuilding
years.
the right way for sure. 13, I gave the Eagles a B plus for Jordan Davis. Good player. I just feel like it was a little bit early, maybe. They're probably pretty frustrated that they missed out on Jameson Williams, which you know is what they were. The 100% were taking Williams with that pick, and then Detroit jumped up 20 spots in front of them to get him. So they didn't get their
Yeah,
receiver. They didn't get Olave. They didn't get Williams, which are two popular mocks. Uh, and they're already really strong at defensive line. I know they're getting older, but in that category, but they're just really eh, going overboard. I feel like almost on in the defensive line. I mean, they have like a loaded front seven, which
yeah, it's really good.
doesn't
But
hurt.
the two older guys they got there are going to be gone. I think either this year or next year. So they're setting up their defensive line is going to be insane this year. And then their two young guys that they have, Jordan Davis, and I forget who the other young guy that they have back there. I think they drafted last year. Um,
I don't
are
remember
two
off the top of my
athletic
head.
freaks of nature, and they're going to learn behind uh, the two veterans before they head off. So I think it was a pretty good pick. I actually gave it an A, even though that the Eagles had to trade up for him, just because I like Jordan Davis that much. I think this was about the right
Oh
time
yeah,
for
they
him to
did trade
go.
up for him. I didn't. Yeah,
Yeah, I think they came up like yeah from the 15th pick to the 13th pick.
yeah,
So
yeah. They knew Baltimore was going to take him.
yeah, I like that. Getting
But
one over
Baltimore, they got
Baltimore.
Hamilton, which there's questions
Yeah.
if it's a great scheme fit or whatever. But I still think Hamilton's a great player. I give it an A plus. I don't know how you
Yeah, I
could
gave it an S. This is the best pick I
an
first
S.
draft. Yeah, I
Just
because
making
I
up
a lot
random
of people
grades.
shut up. I think this is above an A plus. I know a lot of people don't like Hamilton as much. I know Marcus kind of hated on him a little bit and felt like he was around here to 20 is where he should go. But I loved Hamilton. He's what I thought would be like a top 4 or 5 player talent wise, at least in this draft. And of course, it's Baltimore that gets them. Their draft this year was incredible. And we're not going to go through their full draft, but holy cow, did they have a stupid, stupid good draft. And I hate that as a Steelers fan. But, but yeah, they had an incredible draft, and that all started with getting Kyle Hamilton at 14. So, great pickup there. A falling player who's really good.
Yeah, I mean he was going 2, 3, and 4 in most mocks before his combine, where he ran the
Yeah,
slow time. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters too much. You can't put too much stock in that.
yeah. His tape speed's fast, man. He's good. He covers ground.
15, I gave Houston a C for this pick, Kenyon and Green. Um, yeah, just what I consider an average pick. Nothing wrong with the player. He's probably going to be solid for a while. Just one, probably a little bit too early to take him.
Hmm.
Two, I think I would have rather had Zion Johnson.
Yeah,
I definitely would have rather
100%.
had Zion Johnson. You
Yeah,
know,
I gave it a D plus, and the only reason it's at that high at a D plus is because they traded down. But if you're gonna go interior O line, which for a team that needs pretty much every position, that wouldn't be the one of the first things I look for is interior O line. Why not go with the can't miss prospect and Zion Johnson? It's I just don't like the pick. I'd rather them take a skill player or I don't know. Maybe even trade down again if they didn't like anyone else here. But I mean, you you pick a position that isn't too important in the grand scheme of football. I mean, it's always good to have a good interior alignment, but you'd want a tackle for him. You want quarterback. Probably want a wide receiver. It's just not the most flashy position. And
Yeah,
if you are going to go interior line, get Zion Johnson.
yeah, I
At least
agree.
they traded down for him, I guess. But still,
16 Dotson, I gave it a C plus. Uh, the running receivers were starting to go, so I mean, I understand you want to get your guy. I just
hmm
Dotson was a guy who, you know, a lot of time people thought were going very into the first round or early second round. I like Burks a lot better than him. Um,
yeah.
but it's an average pick, slightly above average, so I don't really have much to add there.
I gave it a C minus, just because I felt like there's better wide receivers there. I really like Dotson. I felt like he'll probably be a steal in the mid to late second round, where I thought he'd be going. I think a good place for him to go would be late first, early second. So I think getting him in the mid first round is just a little too early, and you got Burks there and a couple other prospects that I like before him. But you did trade down to get him, and I do like the player, so I gave it a C minus.
Yeah. 17 Zion Johnson. I gave it an A. Pretty just short explanation on this. Just we already talked about it. Can't miss guy. They got someone they can plug in right away in their own line who's going to be very solid, high floor and high ceiling. So gave that an A. I'm
Yep,
assuming you did too.
I gave it a B plus actually. But
Wow.
yeah, I felt he's really good. I think this is about the time I expected him to go. Maybe a
Well,
little bit
what was
earlier.
your
Some of
suggestion for what would have been a better pick?
I don't know. Not much
How
of
are you
a
gonna give it
better
a
pick,
B
but
if you don't even have a backup?
I like the pick. I don't think like I'm saving A's for like steals
I
and really
guess.
good value. But yeah, it's a good pick. You get a really good prospect and shore up that offensive line.
18 was interesting. This was involved in the AJ Brown trade, which really came out of nowhere. But Traylon Burks is a guy that was getting a lot of comparisons to AJ Brown and Deebo Samuel as a guy who could take carries as well as you know line up out wide at receiver. Uh, so it's really pretty interesting. Essentially, they got this first for AJ Brown. Did they get a third as well?
Let me check. I have it up here. Uh,
I think they did.
Trading their number 18 and a fourth is what they got.
Okay, fourth. So yeah, that's still not bad. But they essentially got because Brown was basically the point where he's demanding a huge money deal with the whole receiver situation, and they probably didn't want to pay it. So they basically got a rookie version of AJ Brown. Didn't have to pay the contract and
hmm
just basically got to swap it out and picked up a fourth. So initially I was like, wow, this is a great trade. But then I'm thinking, he's I mean, to compare Burks to Brown and put him at those expectations, that's a little much. I mean, you probably shouldn't
Yeah.
expect him to come right in and seamlessly fill that role. But if all things work out, this will, I think, be a good trade. Brown also has an injury history. He has trouble
hmm
staying on the field sometimes, so I gave it an A minus.
Wow, that's pretty high.
We'll see. I mean, I like the idea. Kind of avoided the headache with
Yeah.
with Brown and got a similar
Yeah.
player.
I gave it a C plus. I think Burks is going to fill that AG Brown void fairly well. Maybe give 80% of what 80 to 85% of what AJ Brown was. And I like the idea of saying, "Hey, you're a great player, but we're not going to give you 25 million per season," which is what the Eagles gave him. It was a 4-year, $100 million contract, 57 million guaranteed. So it's a pretty big deal that Titans just didn't want to pay, and they got a player who can do most of what AJ Brown can do, and like Cole said, they're very similar players, and I like Burks, so I'm pretty okay with the pick. pick, so it's a C plus. The pick and trade.
19, I gave the Penning pick a B. Just gonna be dealing with Penning throwing guys into Jameis Winston's knees. I mean, I didn't think it was bad. They had a tackle need, and it's probably who they were shooting for at 19. So, I think he is the fourth best tackle, pretty clearly.
Yep. Yep. I give it a C plus. I'm okay with Penning. He's definitely the best offensive lineman left. That's the void they wanted filled. So yeah, I'm good with that. Maybe it's slightly early, but I'm fine with that. I think that was a good pick.
20, we could probably talk about this for a while, but
best pick in the draft, S plus plus plus, greatest pick ever. Next Hall of Fame.
Initially, I was pretty disappointed because I really thought they were gonna go on Malik Willis. It's not saying I was right. I'm not saying I know more than the Steelers, which is kind of why I knew I would warm up to it, and I am warming up to it. It makes more sense the more I think about it. So I'm giving it a B plus right now. It does make sense. The fact that they valued Pickett that high, they did tons of research on him. They feel really comfortable with where he's at. I think.
So I gave it a C minus. I've warmed up to it.
Warmed up from a C minus?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. The first reason is why not shoot for the best in Malik Willis?
I think he obviously wasn't the best. Obviously, our evaluation, I think, was just way off.
But
this dude didn't go for 2 more rounds after this.
Yeah, and do you think Pickett would have gone for 2 more rounds?
Yes, 1,000%, yes. There's no way the Steelers reached on him by 2 full rounds.
Okay, well, I would have rather gotten a first-round prospect other than Pickett here, waited a round, and gotten Willis in second.
Yeah, but that's hindsight. I mean,
it is hindsight, and that's kind of what we're grading off of here.
I guess. But there's no guarantee that Pickett would have been there in the second, which is, I think, why they did not trade down, because they're like,
Willis would have been there in the second.
We think someone could move up to
get. So I think you could have gotten Willis, but I've always said that Willis would be.
They didn't know that.
More. I think Willis is a much more high ceiling, low floor kind of guy, and that's the kind of guy I'd want to throw darts at, especially in a great quarterback class next year. This locks you out of a quarterback because Pickett is going to be fine. He's going to be good. He's going to be at Trubisky's level, if not better, from day one.
Here's the thing. I don't think the Steelers think Pickett's ceiling is as low as everyone else's, or else they wouldn't have picked him. That's just not how the Steelers operate.
I guess.
If they're going to pick a guy in the first round to be the next quarterback, they're not picking a guy who's just going to be okay. Whether he will be or not, I'm just telling you that's probably how the Steelers view this. They probably think
who
of
knows?
him as
Maybe I'm wrong,
a really good
but
player.
From my personal opinion is that Pickett is a high floor, low ceiling kind of player, and that locks you out of picking a quarterback in the next year where the quarterback class is a whole lot better than this. So Kenny Pickett is going to be the next Steelers quarterback for the next, I would say, at least 5 years, 4 to 5 years, and he's going to be fine. He's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be amazing. I don't think he's going to be below fine. He's probably going to be good, and I'm okay with that. It's just I'd rather have Willis. I'd rather have somebody else wait and get Willis or Pickett in the second if Pickett falls. Maybe he doesn't, but there's just other players I'd rather him taking, like McDuffie, the corner, or Daxton Hill. I think would have been good here.
I don't know. I don't know if I would have rather had McDuffie on draft, and I probably would have said yes, but we'll talk about it more in the next segment when we go over the Steelers stuff, but we should move on. 21, I gave McDuffie a B+. They did trade up to get him, but I think McDuffie's a good player. That could be lower, I don't know, but the Chiefs got a solid guy. They've lost some guys in their secondary, so...
They moved up 8 picks and sent a 3rd and 4th to the Patriots for this pick. So not bad value getting up here. What did I give it? Yeah, I gave it a B-. I think it was good. I like McDuffie, and I think that was one of the few things that the Chiefs really needed upgraded on, that no line. And Yeah, so I'm fine with them taking McDuffie there. Even a small trade up to get him, I think was fine. So I'm good with that pick.
22, I gave the Quay Walker pick a C minus. I'm not gonna give it an F like some people.
Really? I gave it an F minus. I thought this was the worst pick in the draft.
You're just listening to. I've seen other Packers fans and they don't really have a problem with it. It's literally just Marcus. You're letting him affect your opinions too much. I don't think Quay
Maybe.
Walker's a bad player. There is a smarter situation to do this, uh, but I don't think it warrants an F. I think the smarter thing to do. I don't think Quay Walker's bad, but I think the smarter thing to do is take Devontae Wyatt at 22, Watson at 28, so then you don't have to trade up for him the second, and then get one of these other solid linebackers in a really deep linebacker class instead of Quay Walker all the way
Like
up at
Quay
22.
Walker in the third or something like that.
I don't.
'Cause I think Quay
No, he was
Walker
going
was
to go
like
in
a
the
third
second.
round prospect.
No, that's just Marcus's evaluation. He was going to go in the second, if not later in the first.
I just I think this is a horrible pick. A, because you needed a wide receiver, and I know they got
Yeah, but they
Christian
were going
Watson
to. They
later.
were going. Look at this. Look at the rest of the first round. Not a single receiver was taken. They've reached the drop-off point past Burks, where there's really no one left until Watson or Pickens.
I
No,
think you could have taken Watson or Pickens here,
I don't know. I
or
mean,
maybe you wait,
in hindsight, it
take
would
him
have
at
been a pretty big
28,
reach because they would have picked him 12
or you could have
picks.
taken one of them at 28. But yeah, I think
Yeah, I mean
I
that's what I'm
think if you
saying.
don't want to go wide receiver, and you don't think you have enough, the value's not there to go a wide receiver at 22. Uh, why not defensive end, Jermaine Johnson? Why not Devontae Wyatt here at 22? I think those would have both been much better picks here. And if you really, really, really wanted to go linebacker, why not Devin Lloyd or Chenal? I think both of those players would have been much better than Quay Walker here. That's why I gave it an F minus, because I think it was a bad position to pick from, and you picked like the fourth or fifth best guy at that position. Or Nakobe Dean could have gone here too. I think it would have been a better pick
Well,
than Quay Walker.
okay. I don't know about. Obviously, there were things wrong with N'Kobe Dean and Chanel, or else they wouldn't have fallen to the third round.
Yeah.
I don't think you're too obsessed with Marcus's stupid pre-draft
Marcus doesn't like
rankings.
Dean. He hates Dean. I've kind of cooled off on Dean a little bit. I think Devin Lloyd pulled away from him definitely. I think Chanel is actually above Dean in this class. But Dean's good, but he's really bad in the run, and he's what do you say, a weak side linebacker. He's a good weak side linebacker, but he's not going to be your linebacker one. He's going to be the Robin to someone's Batman.
Another thing I would have rather seen them do, if you're going to trade up for a receiver in the second, which I know that costs less than trading up in the first, but I think
Yeah,
this situation warranted them
trading up in the
trading up,
first.
for Burks or something, which I heard
Yeah,
Rodgers really wanted.
yeah, I think that would have been really good too.
So they kind of had their hand forced there in the second, where they basically had to go up and get somebody, or else
Yeah.
they couldn't just sit back. So I mean, it wasn't an ideal situation, but I don't think it was an F pick. I don't know. Maybe it was a D. I don't. Maybe it's a little too
I
light on them
just I
there, but
just don't like it. I think it's the wrong position. I think it's the wrong player at that position.
23. I gave the Bills a B here. It sounds like this was their guy. Uh, don't know too much about Elam, but they did move up a long ways to go get him. But I was looking at some of his. There was a video on him, and his interview stuff was pretty cool. He seems like a really hard worker, and probably will be a really good fit there in Buffalo. And it was in need, so give it a B.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't personally crazy about Elam, but I guess that was their guy, and they took the guy they wanted. So gave it a they trade up two spots for this
Oh,
pick, so it
oh
wasn't
shoot!
that
I didn't
far.
see that. I thought it was all. I thought they were all the way out of the first round. Never mind. Yeah,
No, they had pick
yeah,
25.
that B is fine then.
And they sent a fourth rounder to the Ravens there. So Yeah,
24.
I gave it a C minus. I don't think I said my grade, but yeah, I
Oh,
think it was fine. I guess.
24. I don't know why I give this a C, though. I'm looking at this now. This should be a
I
D or
gave it
an
a C
F.
too.
I think this should be a D or an F. It sounds. I don't even really know anything about this guy. I didn't see him in any first round mocks really. Um,
Yeah.
but
He was the best tackle left, so if you really, really wanted a
I
tackle, I
guess he
guess that's what
sounds
you
really
take.
developmental, and it's just
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really what you want to look for in the first round. I'd probably adjust that to a D. I don't know why I was
Yeah.
thinking C.
I gave it a C too, but the more I think about it now, I think a D plus or a C minus is more adequate. It's fine, but I mean, the value there is bad. If you really like this player, I guess go for it. But I feel like you could have traded down 5 or 10 picks and still gotten him. So
25, I gave the Linderbaum pick an A. Only thing keeping it from an A plus is there's questions about how he fits there with the run heavy scheme, and he's a little bit undersized, but I think he's still a good player and he'll stick around for a long time. But that's what are those picks to the Ravens? A plus, A, and then we're not even gonna get to talk about their later round picks, but yeah,
yeah, they
I
had an
think
incredible draft. But they originally got the 23rd pick. They traded Marquise Hollywood Brown to the Cardinals for the a
yeah, I
first.
forgot to
The first
mention
was
that.
a 23rd and a fourth round pick, and then they traded down, picking up another fourth rounder to get come down to the 25th pick and pick up Linderbaum. Yeah, I gave it a B plus. I like the pick. I really like the player. Like Cole says, scheme fit might be a little bit questionable because they're going really run heavy back. They're probably going back to the gimmicky play action uh, RPO offense that they had before, and I'm pretty fine with that.
I don't have any
And
They don't have any receivers now.
yeah, that's the thing.
Rashad
Their
Bateman is the
receiving
only
room's
guy I
really
can name on that roster, I think, in the receiving room. And he's
yeah.
like, yeah, what wide receiver 3 on most teams. Like, I don't know what their plan is there, but
Did they pick up another wide receiver in their draft?
I
I don't have it
think,
pulled
but
up.
it
I
was
think they might have
later,
got
and I
someone.
I don't. It wasn't somebody I knew.
It wasn't a big name. It wasn't a
So,
big name guy. But yeah, I like Linderbaum. I think I don't think he's going to return the value of Marquise Brown, but I mean he did get 2 fourth round picks as well,
I don't know. I
and
think they
I
got
guess
more
you don't
for
have to
Marquise
pay
Brown than you would
Hollywood.
have expected. I don't think
Yeah,
anyone would have expected them to get a first back for Hollywood Brown, who's been
I mean Hollywood wasn't that bad. I think Hollywood's a little slept
who's
on. I like him. He's obviously not as good as like
yeah
AJ Brown.
wasn't very consistent.
Yeah, but I think yeah, Linderbaum might be able to, but he is a center compared to a wide receiver. But now you don't have to pay Brown, and you can look forward in your wide receiving room. But you definitely need to add a body there. But trading down, getting a good player, so B plus for the Linderbaum pick.
26, I gave the Jets A plus for Jermaine Johnson. Already touched on that. Don't want to draw this out too long, but you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I really like the player, and I think getting him this late is really good for the Jets. But uh, I think they traded up for him.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, but yeah, I think trading up and picking a player who's falling hard here because I think Jermaine Johnson's a little bit better than a 26th pick. Was really good value for the Jets, and I think the trade was. I don't think the trade was too bad. I forget what the trade was, but
I mean,
I don't
yeah,
think they gave up another first rounder. I think it was
yeah,
a second and like a third or something like that. So good value here. Gave it a B plus, even with the trade.
27, I gave um, Jacksonville a C plus.
Same.
Good player, but they did some questionable things at linebacker this year. They first of all they cut Miles Jack, then they signed some dude. Then they drafted Devin Lloyd, traded up to draft Devin Lloyd, and then they drafted Chad
Mm.
Muma later. Just really
Yeah.
questionable draft all around from Jacksonville. C plus just because it's a good player and he should fit, but
Mhm.
just they traded up to
Yeah,
do it. The
they
overall,
came up 8 picks to get
Yeah.
him and sent a fourth and a sixth. So, not sure about the value there. I think this late in the draft, a fourth round pick and a sixth round pick to come up only 8 spots is a little on the overpay side, but it is a good player. And Devin Lloyd, definitely the linebacker one of this class. I like Devin Lloyd, but it's just, yeah, like you said, getting Muma later too, and they just paid a guy and they cut um, uh,
Miles Jack.
Miles Jack too. It's just, what are you guys doing in Jacksonville, man?
28. Give Wyatt a B plus. Like this pick, especially at 28. You know, you're looking at a vacuum. It's a good pick.
I gave it a B plus as well.
Yeah. 29. This one is probably the biggest surprise of the first round.
Hmm.
Um, this guy was not mocked to go until the third, I think, in most mocks. But from what I've heard, this dude actually should be a pretty good player. And they traded down for it, so I gave it a
Yeah,
C. That's the only thing keeping me from giving it like a D or an F. But
yeah, I would have given it a D, but with the trade down, I gave it a D, C minus. Sorry,
yeah,
they didn't go.
I'm sure he'll work out. It's just really weird that they cut what's his name? They traded Shaq Mason for a sixth round pick, and then used a
Yeah,
first to draft another guard. It's just sometimes Bill Belichick doesn't really make much sense in the GM role.
in the draft, yeah, his GM skills aren't as good as his legendary coaching skills. But uh, some people have said that he was the best offensive lineman left. I'm not too sure about that personally, but I, the trade down, I guess, gives it a little more value. But get your man, I guess, C minus.
30, I got an A minus for the Chiefs. Just good value here in terms of where they're picking. And Karloftis, you know, was a lot of times mocked to go pretty high, so I'm sure they were
Hmm.
thrilled with that.
Yeah, getting him there at 30 was really good. I gave it a B plus. It's a good. That's a really good pickup there for the Chiefs.
31, I gave the Bengals an A for Daxton Hill. There's a little bit of questions about what his role is going to be and where this falls in line with Jesse Bates. You know, are they done with Jesse Bates after this year? I don't know if that'd be the
Hmm.
wisest thing, but Daxton Hill, obviously, we liked him. We would have been fine with him at
Yeah,
20.
yeah,
But he's certainly going to help their defense just as a jack of all trades guy. I mean, they got a
yeah.
lot
Maybe
of.
play him at corner or something like that. I think they
Yeah,
just saw the player and said, "This is too far. We have to take him, even if he doesn't necessarily fit right now." And if
yeah,
they, for some reason, don't want to pay Bates, he'll slide right into that role. But
yeah.
I think you play him at corner. They have Hilton at the nickel, which I know Daxon Hill played a lot in college, so they're probably not going to play him at nickel, but uh, he should be okay as a outside corner. So maybe they'll play him there. They'll find somewhere to play him. He's too skillful to not get on the field, and I think that's why they took him. Gave it a B plus, if I didn't say.
32. This is the Vikings. They traded down from 12. We already talked about to take
Yeah,
Lewis Cine. I gave it a D plus, not because of the player. I'm sure Lewis Cine will probably turn out to be a solid player, but solely because of the horrible trade. Uh, I mean, you
yeah.
probably could have kept your second round pick and just that you had because they gave up another second round pick,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, they could have gotten the scene at 46. Who knows? But and then taking another strong player at 12.
Yeah,
So
all around bid
yeah,
on
I don't
that
know.
trade. I gave it a D minus mostly because of the trade. I think Scene's a little early here. I don't think he's necessarily a first round talent, but uh, they liked him, so they took him. But golly, was that trade horrid. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to say about the Chiefs pick at 30 that I forgot about. The only real knock on this pick for me, and the reason why it was a B plus and not an A or an A minus or an A, was because you really need to be looking at wide receiver. But
Yeah, I
after
think
trading away Tyreek Hill, but I think they
it
got
worked
probably
out.
their
They got
second
Sky
biggest need,
Moore
second
and
or
they
third
got
biggest need.
Karloftis instead of reaching on a receiver. Solid.
So yeah, it worked out really well for him. But
Yeah.
So yeah, B plus on that one.
Well, that pretty much wraps up the first segment. That took way longer. I thought my voice is going, but we'll go ahead and go through the Steelers draft class and give our thoughts on that.
Yep.
Um, all right. So overall, I was pretty happy with the draft class looking back. I think each day I think it looks better. I think a lot of fans are warming up to it. I think they killed the middle rounds.
Hmm.
Some can argue about pick or whatever. Already talked about that and the later rounds, but who really cares about that? So we'll go through pick by pick and kind of give you the rundown on what we know about each guy and our thoughts on the pick. Pickett, I don't want to get into this too much since we already touched on it, but I feel like there was something I was gonna say earlier that I held off until now, and now I don't remember what it was.
All right, I'll start talking then, and then maybe something will click.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd much rather would have had Willis here, or waiting in the second round to pick either Pickett or Willis, just because I've said this before. I'm always gonna be leaning towards a guy with a much higher ceiling, a much lower floor, just because who knows, he might hit and be really good. And if he doesn't hit next year, it's a really good class, so you can look forward to getting a quarterback in
I
that
don't
class.
think the Steelers. I know they have Trubisky, so that kind of ruined
Yeah,
my
I'm
point
fine
a
with
little bit.
Trubisky starting for a year.
But I think the point is, if Trubisky flops, which I think there's a better chance than not that he does, or that he doesn't, turn out to be the
Hmm.
franchise guy.
I don't think
I
he will,
don't
but I
think
think
the
solid.
Steelers want to waste TJ Watt's prime years and Minka's prime years and
Yeah,
Najee's prime
yeah.
years and the end of Cam Hayward's career where he's still playing at a really high level. I don't think they want to waste their top 5 to 10
It's definitely
defense
it's
and their
definitely
ascending
a win
offense.
now move.
Yeah. Uh, I think, like I said earlier, I don't think they would take Pickett if they thought he was just okay. I do truly believe that they think he's going to be the guy. Uh, but I think they know their roster, better than we do. And I think the
Hmm.
Pickett move, it does make more sense than Willis. I think obviously the problems that we saw with Willis about reading the defense that we were just kind of overlooking. I think teams realize that that's a pretty big
It's
deal.
a legit problem, but
Yeah, and
the thing is, if he can fix that, he has all the tools to become a great quarterback. So that's what I was kind of focusing on. I
hypothetically
always
it
knew
was a
there's a
pretty
good
good
chance that he could
situation.
bust, but
Yeah.
just the fact that it could hit and be really, really good is what I was
I don't
really
want to
looking at. And
rag
that's how I think you should look at
I don't want to rag on
most
Willis too
quarterbacks.
much, and I don't like changing my opinions that drastically after something happens. But I will say this to kind of side with you is I think they pretty much probably were expecting Pickett to go at 6, and they even said themselves we did not expect Pickett to get to us.
Hmm.
So I don't think this is what I was going to say earlier, but and I forgot about, but I remember it now. I don't think the Malik Willis like hype that they were giving off that oh we love Willis, we're enamored with Willis. I don't think that was smokescreen. I think they truly did like Willis and they prepared to draft him. The only thing that got in the way is they did have Pickett ranked ahead of him the whole time. They just never thought that they were gonna have to make that choice. I think they thought Pickett was gonna go early and maybe Willis is gonna be there. So I think if Pickett did go early, I do think they would have taken Willis at 20.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
But I obviously all along they did think Pickett was
Mhm.
the better player.
Yeah, it's definitely a win now move. It's definitely because he's going to be the better player starting off. He's NFL ready. The thing is that he's going to be 25 in a month, and he doesn't have the highest ceiling. And he played a lot of college football, so eh, he
If you
should be
remember,
dominating at his age in college.
yeah, going back to the whole smokescreen thing and just the reports that were coming out, if you remember, there were a couple different reports. One, a couple months ago, from someone told Dale Lally that the Steelers would be comfortable taking Pickett at 20. That was like early in the draft process, and people were like, yeah, it's still a long ways away. I didn't put much stake into it because I figured things would change. And then something came out like a few days before the draft, and it was like the Steelers are prepared to take Pickett at 20. And people just kind of overlooked it because the media had hyped up Malik Willis so much. And I think the media really did have a big influence on our view of the two prospects. And I think clearly the NFL teams saw them pretty differently. It would have been pretty cool to see where Pickett would have gone because we don't know. Maybe he would have fallen to. I don't think he would have. I think most teams probably had Pickett ranked higher on their board, especially since we heard that Carolina was pretty close to taking him. But I don't know. I just wanted to say that in terms of the reports and
Yeah.
information that we did actually hear that they did like that Pickett, and we just kind of chose to ignore it as we think they like Willis more, but turns out they
Yeah.
didn't.
Obviously not. Yep.
But I'm
I mean,
warming up
like
to it.
obviously, I hope Pickett becomes a stud, and I mean, I love the guy. I think he's a great guy, and I love the story from Pitt to Pittsburgh. So
We'll
I like
talk
him.
about
Hopefully, he turns out real well.
the position battle overall next episode. Don't want to get into that too much, but
Yeah.
just focusing on the pick. That was kind of our thoughts. Then Pickens, which I really did not think Pickens was going to be there in the second.
Yeah,
I
it was a
heard
bit
that
of a
Tomlin was
surprise.
infatuated with him, and they really were pressing him in his pro day, and were just in love with them, and he kind of felt like a Steeler all
Hmm.
along. It just seemed too good to be true. But
Yeah.
when he got there and it was him and Sky Moore, I didn't know who they were going to take, but I was like, man, I'd bet all my money it's going to be one of those two,
Hmm.
and it was. But I think people are starting to. I hope Pickens is not getting overhyped because people are really jumping on the trade now. If you look at his college production, it wasn't great, but they're saying the Steelers said uh, if when we started scouting at the beginning of the year last year, before he tore his ACL, this guy was our number one receiver. We thought he was the best receiver in the country. Like that's how good he can be. If he didn't get
Yeah.
hurt, this guy would
It's
probably be the
crazy.
top receiver in the class. He's got that kind of potential. So, and then you
So
pair
it's a
him with
really, really exciting pick,
yeah, really could
especially for a
transform
second
the
round.
offense. Yep, in the second round too.
The
DeMarvin,
the
you have anything
the
to say
pro
on
the pro yeah
Pickens?
the problem with Pickens though is that he's a hothead and a bit of a diva.
Yeah,
But
you can kind of
with
feel it coming.
Tomlin and this coaching staff, I mean, they handled AB for a number of years. And the second AB left, AB was all over the place. So I think they can hone him in. And I actually like the hothead on the field. I think every team needs like one guy that can really get them into the game. I mean, even if it's something stupid every now and then,
He
like
does have
you'll
that
see
alpha
you'll see a
mentality.
couple. Yeah, you'll see
It's
a
gotten
couple
him into
videos
trouble.
of him. He grabbed the dude by the helmet and slammed him into a wall from behind the end zone. So
He's just
just
an
make sure you're
absolute
aware of
menace.
that.
Just
But
Hall of Fame school threat is George Pickens. This man is about to. I think we just need to embrace it. He's probably going to
yeah,
be an idiot. He's probably going to get penalized quite a bit, but I'm hoping he's just an absolute beast on the field with it.
but I mean, stuff like that can heat up a team and get everyone mad, get
It's
everyone
so funny
angry,
that
get everyone
we
locked
could
in.
just
So
feel like the AB 2.0 situation brewing before he's even like
yeah,
like a day after he's been drafted. Well, it's whatever. I mean, I think his talent should be really is
and if you
there.
haven't seen the video of him watching himself getting drafted, you need to watch that. Oh,
I've never seen a stance just scream menace more than that. It's just oh
oh
man, yeah.
man,
I'd never even heard the
he's
guy
a
speak before, and
character.
he already cracks me up. But I can
He's a
already tell when I
character.
love him. But I think we
Just
just need to embrace the
yeah.
the menace in him, and just he's probably gonna go
Oh.
crazy in 4 years and either one out or you lose his mind, become too much a diva. But we just need to enjoy these 4 years while we have him.
Yeah, he's gonna do something stupid this year too. I put your money on it. He'll start punching a defensive back, or he'll block about 10 seconds after the whistle's
I
been
saw some
blown.
dude on Twitter that was like, "Oh, Jack Lambert and like those guys should do that all the time." So I actually don't have any problem with him just punching guys.
But yeah,
It's so funny.
he's alpha. He's angry. He doesn't take anything from anybody
Let's
else.
just say
So
this:
just be
he'll fit
careful
right
with him.
into the
But
AFC North.
yeah,
The AFC North gets
he'll
even
love the
crazier.
AFC North. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love
Uh,
George Pickens already. I don't even know anything about him really.
all
All
right.
right, DeMarvin Leal or Leal, I don't really know how you pronounce it, but I will tell you this: I saw a thing. It was a picture from a way
Oh, yeah, I know
too
what you're
early
talking
mock
about.
draft
Yep. Yep.
from a year ago,
Yep.
and they had DeMarvin Leal going fifth. This is a guy who, didn't live up to expectations this year, but he's that high pedigree guy that
Hmm.
could really be unlocked in a good situation. I think this is the good situation. So I think he's actually being graded a little too low. I've seen a lot of B's for this pick. I'd give it an A for a third round pick. I mean, this
Yeah.
guy should blossom into a star if everything goes
Yeah.
right. Gets to
I like him.
learn behind
He's
Cam
a
and
pretty big dude too.
Tuitt and Alualu and Watt. I mean, what a situation. Throw him in that rotation rookie year and then have him ready to take over in year two.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely like the pick. I think he could end up being a game changer with a little bit of coaching up here from great defensive line coaching wise.
Then we got Calvin Austin in the fourth, which I think is another huge steal. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's three steals in a row right there.
It's one of my favorite picks for the Steelers
Yeah, you
draft
heard the
here. I
Ravens
love this
really
guy.
wanted him to pick after, and they were fuming that the Steelers took him one pick before. This is a guy, he's pretty undersized, but he does not play like it.
Yeah,
You know,
he's
he'll,
five
he'll get
eight, which is
he'll get
short.
comparisons to Dree Archer because he was a late round burner guy. He runs in the low 4.3s, track
Mm-hmm.
background, but
4.32 at the 40.
he's not a track guy. He plays with that edge, and I think this is a guy who could really blossom into someone good too. Good route runner. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this could be the steal of the draft right here. I mean, between him and Pickens, the offense is totally transformed, and I honestly love those two picks.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Calvin Austin here. I think he has a really, really good chance to blow
One
up
more
in
thing
Pittsburgh.
to get you excited. Um,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about? Sauce Gardner. You hear that?
No, I didn't actually hear that.
Sauce Gardner. They asked him before the draft who was the hardest receiver that he ever had to guard in college, and it was Calvin Austin.
Hey, let's go.
Of anyone he matched up against, it was Calvin Austin. So I mean, I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah,
That doesn't get you
this
excited. I
reminds me
don't
a
know what
lot of
will.
when Deontay Johnson was picked, and
Hey, let me
everyone
say
kind
this
of
real quick.
slept on that pick
Matt
too.
Canada, zero excuses. The leash is an inch
Oh
long.
man,
Okay, Matt
yeah.
Canada, you've got probably one of the deepest room of weapons in the entire league. I mean, just you couldn't even lift them off on two hands. I mean, let's just run through this real quick. I mean, you got Najee Harris, probably is
Yep.
gonna, evolve into a top five running back in the league, beast. You
Mhm.
got Deontay Johnson, cleans up the
Mhm.
drops. He's like a top 10, top 15 receiver. Claypool, I don't think we've seen the best of him. Now you got George Pickens, who can really probably become that wide receiver one that we haven't had in a while. Calvin Austin, just talked about him. Pat Fryermuth going to improve. That's just that
Beast.
A tier. I mean, we're already at five weapons right there. Then you got like
Six.
the B tier. That's six.
Yep. I was counting them on my hands.
Okay. Then you got the B tier of guys that Steelers fans should be reasonably excited about. They're not going to be superstars, but these guys should be solid role players. You got Gentry. You got
I always love me some Gentry.
whichever other receiver is going to make the roster. Olszewski's not going to provide much on offense, but either it's
Yeah. And
Anthony
honestly,
Miller
Calvin
or
Austin
Miles
might be returning kicks
Boykin.
now because he's a really good kick returner in college.
Yeah,
So that
between
might
Miles
push
Boykin
Gunner out.
and Anthony Miller, if those two are fighting for, I mean, one of those guys is going to get cut, sadly. But
Yeah,
that makes me feel
probably
pretty
Miller.
good about the state of the team.
And then
We got
I think the only thing we need on our offense is just someone to take a couple carries off of Najee, because I don't think we have that on the roster right now. But
if Miles
there's running backs
Boykin
in free agency we can pick up. So
if Miles Boykin or who was the other guy I said? Anthony Miller. If those two are on the
yeah,
bubble to make your team, as the last receiver on your depth chart, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Yeah, love this pick.
Then you got Connor Hayward. Not a ton to say about him. I actually thinking about this. I think people were initially say this and they're like, oh man, they're gonna have to cut Derek Watt or Connor Hayward. I think they're gonna find a way to
Yeah,
keep
not at
both.
all.
I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that one of them gets cut. I
I don't.
think you're
One, I don't
gonna
think you want
have
to piss off Watt or Hayward,
yeah,
and two,
and,
I think Hayward can be used in that utility role where it's not like you're keeping two fullbacks. I think he can kind of be that third tight end.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and they're
I think that's what a
both
lot of people are
going to
forgetting about.
provide so much. I think our special teams unit is going to be insane this year. I mean,
Yeah,
you think about the guys they retained and the guys they're bringing back, plus the rookies. You throw in like Calvin Austin on special teams to go with Connor Hayward, Miles Killebrew, Derek Watt. I mean, that's an insane. Benny Snell. You're bringing back some great, great guys. I mean, it's not. At the end of the day, it's not gonna turn heads, but I mean, they got
Special
a
teams
really
scary
solid
this year.
3 phases this year, and I'm excited about it. You got anything to? I'm not really gonna talk about the last two. I mean, I think we should just wrap it up here. I don't know much about Mark Robinson. It's a late round flyer.
Yeah, I read a little bit of something about him, but he was actually a running back, and then he's played 1 year at linebacker, and he's a little small. He's 5'11", 235, but apparently he's a developmental guy, and he could be some. Says here that Flores thinks he has a really high ceiling, so maybe we can get something out of him. I don't really know too much about
That
him,
is
but
true. We have
for a
Flores.
seventh
We'll
round
see.
pick,
Yeah.
for a seventh round pick, I mean that's fine.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
someone
never
who
gonna.
could develop into like a backup or a starter. I mean,
I'm never gonna
that's fine.
criticize a 7th round pick.
Yeah, and then the quarterback.
Our quarterback, our
a
7th round pick. I'm gonna criticize that one.
Yeah, a lot of people are like ripping into him because seventh round quarterback's kind of a bad pick. But I mean, they're going to take four quarterbacks going into the season. They do this every year, and they weren't going to get him as a undrafted free agent because they Steelers never pay those guys well. So he'd get money somewhere else. But
I think.
yeah, it's whatever.
I'm kind of like, why not throw a flyer at Carson Strong? And many people thought it was going to go in like the 3rd round.
Yeah, I agree
Who
with
has
that.
Probably one of the best pure arm talent of anyone in the class. His medicals must be really, really bad. I mean, that's all I'm really going to say about that. But I think a big reason why they did not pick him up is that I think Oladokin or whatever his name is, he provides that threat on the ground that helps them prepare for guys like Lamar, and they like having that in the scout team. That's kind of what Dobbs was, and I think that's basically what role he's going to fill this year. So I think it was important for them to have
he's
that.
a super mobile guy.
Yeah.
Oladokin. Yeah,
But,
that's a really good point. Didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps up this episode. I know it was pretty long, but we'll probably get the next episode cranked out in the next couple of days here. I'm pretty excited about it. We're gonna take a look around the league and do our power rankings. We haven't really done an overall league overview yet, and then we're gonna go in depth into the Steelers quarterback battle. Heading into camp and who we think should start and what that should look like, because there's a lot of questions around that. We really don't know what it's going to look like. But that's it for this episode. You do any special outro? I forget.
No, not really. So, thanks for watching. That's about it.